What's up, everyone? Today is August 27th of 2023. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how two news stories that broke within the last 24 hours are connected to AEW's All-In event in London, England, which is being billed as one of the biggest professional wrestling shows of all time. Last night, we got news that there was a shooting in Jacksonville, Florida. This was a racially motivated shooting, allegedly. This was followed up by news this morning that a U.S. military aircraft called a V-22 Osprey crashed over the nation of Australia. Now, on this channel, I talked about the last time the V-22 Osprey crashed, and I actually did a video on that. This was the June 12th super stream from last year, and I mentioned how it was connected to AEW wrestler Will Ospreay, who, of course, shares the name Osprey with the vehicle that crashed. Last year, which again was the last incident containing an Osprey, that happened on June 8th, which was the same day that Will Ospreay first appeared on AEW television. Now, in that crash from last year, the son of former baseball player Steve Sax was killed. And there were very intriguing numerical alignments. Sax's son was 33 years old, and he died 33 days after Will Ospreay's birthday. Meanwhile, Osprey, whose name sums to 99, was born 99 days after the 33rd birthday of Steve Sax. And this was a Marine helicopter. Notice how Marine sums to 33, another number we'll be discussing as we go. All Elite Wrestling is headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, which is where we got this other news story last night, where there was a mass shooting in Jacksonville. And what's so remarkable about this shooting is that it fell on the 5-year anniversary of another mass shooting in Jacksonville called the Jacksonville Landing shooting. This shooting occurred at a video game tournament for Madden NFL 19. Here you see Antonio Brown on the cover. Well, this year, notice how John Madden is on the cover of Madden NFL 23. And this is certainly no coincidence, as the name Madden equals 23 in reduction gematria. Here on this channel, we focus on this all-encompassing language of numerology, which starts with the ordinal method, numbering the alphabet 1 through 26. The reduction method, also called Pythagorean, drops every double-digit number to a single digit. And here you see Madden equals 23. Currently, as I'm recording this video, AEW is hosting the All-In event in Wembley Stadium in London, England. So let's talk about how this is connected. This military aircraft, the V-22 Osprey, crashed with 20 Marines on board, killing 3 of them. So here we have the number 20 and 3. In the standard alphabetic order of Gematria, All Elite Wrestling sums to 203. Will Ospreay will be squaring off against Chris Jericho, a very famous professional wrestler who goes back to the 90s in WWE. But notice when Will Ospreay made his debut back in June of last year, he had 2 of his stablemates by his side. A stable in pro wrestling is like a group of guys who wrestle together. And Will Ospreay belongs to the United Empire stable. And the 2 men behind Will Ospreay are, let's see, it's Mark Davis and Kyle Fletcher. And those 2 men comprise the tag team Aussie Open. This V-22 Osprey crash occurred in Australia. This past January, the Australian Open completed on January 29th, which was the 63rd birthday of former MLB player Steven Sax. who again lost his son in the last V22 Osprey crash. Notice how the name Steve Sachs in Gematria has a Latin value of 1291. This is a incredibly significant cipher. I consider to be the most important, based in the ancient Latin alphabetic order. Notice how he has this gematria of 1291, a lot like the date January 29th, and furthermore, Stephen Sachs, also 129 like his birthday. So Steve Sachs turned 63 years old on the date that the Australian Open ended this year. In reduction gematria, U.S. Marine Corps has this value of 63. In the reverse alphabetic order, U.S. Marine Corps sums to 180. Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay, who will be fighting tonight, their birthdays are separated by a span of 180 days on the calendar. Today's Osprey crash fell 1 year and 80 days after the Osprey crash that claimed the life of Steve Sachs's son. Now, in the alphabetic order, U.S. Marine Corps sums to 171. Today's all-in event for AEW is being held at Wembley Stadium, and when you measure from the opening date of Wembley Stadium to the date of today's event, you get 171 days, just like U.S. Marine Corps. However, if you include the end date, this same measurement is a span of 172 days, and in ordinal, Wembley Stadium sums to 172. Now, I thought it was interesting that in Latin gematria, V22 sums to 722. And on the date that Wembley Stadium opened, that March 9th date we just looked at, Will Ospreay was exactly 722 weeks old. He was also 185 sidereal months, or lunar orbits old. Exactly, 185. And this is the gematria of his stable, United Empire, which he shares with Aussie Open, and again, the crash in Australia. All in with capital letters also sums to 172. But check this out. If you measure from this date again, March 9th of 2007, to the date of today's crash, you get a span of 6,016 days, and this is a number I commonly discuss as being connected to ritual sacrifice. Ritual sacrifice sums to 616. And think about what's been going on with wrestling this week. 2 days ago, I made a video on the death of former WWE champion Bray Wyatt, who suffered a heart attack reportedly at the young age of 36. And a lot of the wrestlers at today's event are wearing armbands in honor of Bray Wyatt. Now, intriguingly, and it's worth mentioning, too, that the world of wrestling has a long connection to Marines. Think about how there's a film series called The Marine, which stars John Cena and The Miz, two WWE wrestlers. So, in my post on Bray Wyatt, I talked about many skull and bones riddles. And for those of you who haven't been watching many of my videos, this is the big code that's been running all year, as Yale University, home of Skull and Bones, turns 322 years old in 2023, like how Skull and Crossbones equals 223. And this was a number I talked about with Bray Wyatt a lot. He was named after a wrestler named Barry Clinton Windham, who sums to 223, and that man was born 322 months before Bray. But what I didn't even mention is that Bray Wyatt's initials, BW, the second letter and the 23rd letter, 223. And there's a big 223 riddle here as well. Today, falls 43 days before Yale's anniversary, and in ordinal, Yale sums to 43. All In has satanic gematria of 223, and today falls a span of 322 days after AEW owner Tony Khan's birthday. Today is also 20 months and 23 days after the last total solar eclipse. Remember, eclipses are separated by 223 lunar phases, eclipses of the same Saros. And in Hebrew, the moon equals 223. Will Osprey was also born a span of 22 weeks and 3 days after Tony Khan's birthday. Now, in the alphabetic order, Skull and Bones sums to 149. Today's crash with this Osprey helicopter occurred off of Melville Island. And notice how Melville Island also sums to 149. We're also told that this crash happened off the city of Darwin. Notice how Darwin sums to 33 in reduction. And this was another number I mentioned. 33 is connected to ritual human sacrifice, as the number 33, when spelled out, sums to 895, just like that phrase. Well, not only does Marine equal 33 in reduction, but today's event, All In, equals 33. And remember, the first Osprey crash was a span of 33 days after Will Ospreay's birthday. Well, 33 is 11 times 3. And 113 is the 30th prime number. And look how old Will Ospreay is today. 30 years and 113 days old. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that a Osprey crash would be synced up with a guy named Osprey. But here we are again. And, you know, this... I mean, this literally just happened last year, where I made this connection. So next up, I want to talk about this shooting in Jacksonville, Florida. Again, All Elite Wrestling is headquartered in Jacksonville, which is where they hosted all of their shows during the plandemic. Now, yesterday's numerology was 57 and 21. And think about the last video I made on my channel was about the death of Bob Barker, whose death made the news on that same date. And that was all connected to the moon and the moon landing, as I put on my image for that video. So here we get another moon riddle with this shooting at Dollar General. The shooting fell on a date with primary numerology of 77, 8 plus 26 plus 20 plus 23. Think about how Jacksonville is home to the NFL's Jaguars, which sums to 77 in ordinal. And this happened on the 5-year anniversary of the Jacksonville Landing shooting. Notice how Jacksonville Landing sums to 77. The company that's headquartered there, All Elite Wrestling, also sums to 77. And as I mentioned earlier, this Jacksonville Landing shooting, which, by the way, was carried out by a man named Katz, and the Jaguars in Jacksonville, the mascot is a cat. This happened during a Madden NFL tournament. And think about how the number 77 is connected to John Madden, who wore number 77 during his NFL career. In the language of Gematria, using the Latin cipher, Jacksonville Landing shooting sums to 2023. And now here we are in the year 2023 with the shooting on the anniversary. Using capital letters, Jaguars sums to 223. Once again, the big skull and bones number. Skull and Bones was founded in the year 1832. That's the same year that the city of Jacksonville was incorporated on February 9th. Measuring from this shooting in Jacksonville to Yale's anniversary, you get 44 days. This is the reduction value of shooting, gunfire, execution, military, all 44. Yale's 322nd anniversary falls on a date with numerology of 62 and 26. This is perfect for a shooting at a dollar store. In ordinal and reduction, dollar sums to 62 and 26. But there's a lot more that goes into the numerology of this shooting. As I pointed out earlier, 223 is an eclipse number because eclipses from the same Saros are separated by 223 lunations. We are currently in a period of time between the two great American total solar eclipses, which create an X, or a cross, over the United States, much like how the bones under the skull create a cross. If you multiply 3 times 22, like the numbers in the skull and bones emblem, you get a product of 66, and in Gematria, skull and bones matches 66. In Latin ordinal, the word eclipse equals 66, and this shooting in Jacksonville fell a span of 6 years and 6 days after the first Great American Eclipse. Jacksonville Jaguars sums to 66 in reduction, and this shooting was also 606 days after the death of John Madden back in 2021. John Madden was born on April 10th, the date written 4/10, a lot like 41. In the alphabetic order, Madden sums to 41. The shooting in Jacksonville yesterday happened on a date with numerology of 41 and also 23. And once again, Madden equals 23 reduction, and now Madden is on the Madden 23 cover. Notice how John Madden also has matching Gematria with 23. So this happened at a Dollar General store. And notice how the full name, John Earl Madden, sums to 124 ordinal. This is the same as Dollar General, 124. In fact, Dollar General Corporation, also 124. This shooting in Jacksonville fell 124 days before the anniversary of John Madden's death. This same measurement is also 17 weeks and 5 days, and in Latin Gematria, dollar equals 175. But that's not it, because look at all the other numbers that Dollar General shares with Jacksonville, Florida, Jacksonville Landing, John Earl Madden, and Madden. Dollar General syncs up with all of this, particularly through the number 227, which Dollar General shares with Jacksonville, Florida. 227. This was another number I mentioned in my video on Bob Barker yesterday, as the shooting yesterday fell a span of 227 days before the next Great American Total Solar Eclipse. And in the Hebrew language, where Gematria is believed by many to have originated, the phrase for total eclipse equals 227. So does the United States of America in ordinal. And once again, these are the two Great American Total Solar Eclipses. Now, when we talk about eclipses, we often talk about the number 666, which, once again, I'll link this PDF below that explains how the number 666 connects the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. 666 is the number of the beast. And in Latin Gematria, beast equals 198. Using the standard alphabetic order, Jacksonville, Florida equals 198. And isn't it interesting that we're being told 3 victims of this shooting died? The number 3 equals 198 in Latin Gematria. And when you measure from the date that Jacksonville, Florida was incorporated, which once again was February 9th, from that date to the date of the shooting yesterday was 198 days. Furthermore, Jacksonville was also 69,960 days old yesterday, which has the same digits as 666, just upside down. And it was on the anniversary of the Jacksonville landing shooting, which sums to 1669. "666 is revealed as the number of the beast in the book of Revelation, and Revelation equals 1010. Well, 1010, October 10th, is the 283rd day of the year. And notice how both 666 and the moon have Latin gematria of 283. Measuring from the date that Dollar General opened its first store on June 1st of 1955 to yesterday's shooting was exactly 844 lunar phases. And in the ancient Hebrew language, revelation sums to 844. Again, revelation, all connected to the moon. In my first post, I talked about the number 33 and how this was a number of sacrifice connected to Marine and All In and Will Osprey. Well, the number 33 is shorthand for 666. When you write out 33, it sums to 66 and 60, and also has the same gematria as 666 and 666s. The team from Jacksonville, Jacksonville Jaguars, equals 303. This brings us to the founder of Dollar General, whose name is James Luther Turner. And think about how he goes by his initials, JL. JL Turner. This reminds us of Jacksonville Landing, JL. The name Turner also sums to 33. And when you write out his full name with his nickname, you get a sum of 928 in reverse satanic. Now, why is 928 significant? Well, on 928 next month, the city of Jacksonville turns exactly 9,999 weeks old. And this shooting fell 33 days before that date. The name Turner in gematria not only sums to 33, but you also get a 96 and a 66, much like a 666. Turner died on the 19th of April, or 19/4. And in ordinal, Jacksonville Landing sums to 194. Notice how J.L. Turner also has matching gematria with Jacksonville Landing, which he shares initials with. Finally, in regards to the moon is an average of 238,000 miles from Earth. This matches the Latin gematria of 666. 2038. Yesterday's shooting fell on the 238th day of the year. And if you measure from that date to the anniversary of J.L. Turner's death, it was a span of 238 days. All right, folks, that'll do it for this one. Once again, please check the links in the description below for more if you'd like to support the work or simply learn more about gematria. That'll do it for this one. Peace, love, God bless, and we'll talk to you next time. See ya!